They say never open the closet after midnight. I always thought that was just one of those dumb superstitions, until I stayed at my cousin's house. And one night, the closet door opened on its own. That's when everything changed. The sounds, the scratching, the thing I know I saw. It's been years since that week, and I still can't explain what happened. But I can tell you this, if you're ever alone in an old house and the clock strikes 12, leave the closet closed. Whatever's inside doesn't want to stay in there. This happened back in 2019. I had just moved out of my apartment in Philly and had a 2-week gap before moving into my new place. My cousin Evan offered to let me crash at his house during the transition. He lived about 45 minutes outside the city in one of those older suburban homes where every floorboard squeaks and the walls feel thinner than they should. The guest room he gave me was decent. A little small, kind of dusty, but it worked. Twin bed, tiny desk, and a closet with one of those hollow wooden doors that never quite shuts all the way. You know the type. It closes, but the latch doesn't catch, so the thing always ends up creeping open again unless you shove something in front of it. The first night, I did just that. I moved a laundry basket in front of it, turned off the light, and knocked out. Around 2:30 in the morning, I half woke up to this low creaking sound. Didn't think much of it, probably just the house settling or the basket shifting a bit. I was half asleep and groggy, so I rolled over and ignored it. The second night, though, something felt off. It was close to midnight and I was reading on my phone, just trying to wind down. The closet door had crept open again, just a little. I didn't hear it move, but it was definitely wider than before. I got up, closed it, pushed the basket back, and climbed into bed. A few minutes later, I got a text from Evan, who was still downstairs. It just said, "Hey, random question. Do you ever feel weird in that room?" I replied with a simple, "Why?" It took him a few minutes to answer, and when he finally did, all he wrote back was, "I don't know. Just wondered if you noticed anything." That didn't help me sleep. At breakfast the next morning, I asked him what he meant. He kind of shrugged and said something like, "The closet in that room's always been weird." Then he looked at me and said, totally serious, "Just don't open it after midnight." That's what my grandma always told me. I laughed, thinking he was messing around. But he didn't laugh back. He just stared at his coffee and said, "I didn't believe it either, not until I did." I didn't push him. I figured it was one of those weird family superstitions. But that night, I made sure to be asleep before midnight. Didn't work. I woke up around 12:40 a.m. to grab some water. The hallway was quiet, pitch black except for a little light coming from the kitchen. When I came back to the room, the closet door was wide open. I stopped cold in the doorway. I hadn't touched it. I hadn't been anywhere near it. The basket I'd shoved in front of it, it was on its side like someone, or something, had pushed it from inside. I stared into the open dark for a good minute, waiting to hear something, but it was dead silent. I flipped the light on and forced myself to look. There was nothing inside. Just a couple folded blankets on the top shelf, some shoes, and a few old boxes. I moved the boxes around, checked behind them, even looked up into the corners of the closet. Still, nothing. I shut the door hard, wedged the basket back, turned on the desk lamp, and left it on the rest of the night. The next few nights, it got worse. Every time the clock hit midnight, I'd hear that latch click, sometimes soft, sometimes louder, like something was forcing the door open. A few times I woke up and it was cracked open again, just enough to see inside, just enough to feel watched. Then came the scratching. It started around 3 a.m. one night. I was half asleep when I heard a faint scritch-scritch sound, like nails on wood. I sat up slowly, trying not to make a sound. The scratching was coming from inside the closet. It wasn't frantic. It wasn't loud. It was methodical, almost intentional. Scritch, scritch. Pause. Scritch, scritch. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream, but instead I just froze and stared at the door. The closet didn't open that night, but I didn't sleep either. The next morning, I told Evan everything. He was quiet for a while, then finally said, "Okay, I guess I'll tell you." He said when he first moved in, probably 6 years ago, he used the guest room as a temporary office while the main one was being renovated. One night, he couldn't sleep and went in there to grab some documents. It was around 12:15 a.m. He opened the closet and immediately felt this freezing cold air hit him. And then, he said, he saw something, a figure, human-shaped, but wrong. Its proportions were off, the arms too long, the head slightly tilted, and the eyes. He said the eyes were impossibly wide, just staring at him from the back of the closet. It didn't move, it didn't lunge, it just stood there, watching. He slammed the door and didn't go in that room again for almost a month. That's when his grandmother, who had lived in the house before him, told him never to open that closet after midnight. She never said why, just that she sealed it, whatever that meant, and that it was better left alone. After hearing that, I started sleeping on the couch downstairs. But on the last night, my final night before I moved out, something happened that I still can't explain. It was a little after 1 a.m. I had just dozed off on the couch when I woke up to footsteps. Soft ones, coming from upstairs. Slow, deliberate, like someone walking down the hall, one step at a time. They stopped right above me. That's when I heard it. Click. The sound of the closet door unlatching. Then, silence. I sat there frozen, heart racing, staring at the ceiling. No more footsteps, no more sounds, just this unbearable pressure in the air, like something was waiting. The next morning, I forced myself to go back up and grab the rest of my stuff. The door to the guest room was open. So was the closet. Not all the way, just a few inches. Enough to see the inside. On the floor, right near the threshold, was a single long black hair, Evan's blonde. I have brown hair. Neither of us have black hair. I didn't say anything, just packed fast and got out. I haven't been back to that house since. Evan still lives there. He says the closet stays shut now. Mostly, but sometimes when he's walking past the guest room late at night, he says he still hears it. That soft creak of the latch letting go. To this day, I don't know what was in that closet. But if you ever find yourself in an old house like that, and you feel the air shift around midnight, leave the closet shut. Whatever's behind it is better left unseen. And just when you thought that was the worst that could happen with a closet that won't stay shut, the next story takes things even further. Because sometimes it's not just about what's behind the door, it's about who opened it before you and never came back out. I know how it sounds. Don't open the closet after midnight. It's the kind of thing you'd read in a Reddit thread or some horror movie script. But I'm telling you, this happened. And if I had just left it alone, I honestly don't know if I'd still be here to talk about it. Back in 2022, I was renting a room in this old house outside of Asheville, North Carolina. I'd taken a new remote job and needed a cheap place fast, so I found a room on Craigslist. The ad was simple. Furnished room, shared kitchen, utilities included. The owner was this older woman named Bev, super polite, kind of quiet, very churchy. The place was outdated but clean, and I needed to stop couch surfing, so I signed the lease. The room I moved into was upstairs at the end of the hall. beige carpet, wood-paneled walls, and a small closet with a sliding door that didn't quite sit right on the track. I remember the first time I opened it. It let out this horrible squeal like metal grinding on metal. Inside, the closet was empty except for this old floral shoebox on the shelf and a faint, musty smell. It didn't feel used, almost like no one had touched it in years. The first week was fine. I kept to myself, worked during the day, microwaved cheap dinners, and binge-watched Netflix at night. The house was always dead quiet after 9 p.m. Bev had this strict routine. She was in bed by 8:30 every night and expected the house to be quiet and respectable. Her words, not mine. But around the second week, weird stuff started happening. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and notice the closet door was cracked open. At first, I thought maybe I hadn't slid it all the way shut. I mean, it was janky, but it started happening more than once. I'd close it at night, check it twice, and still, somehow, it would be open by morning. Just an inch or two, always just enough to see darkness inside. Then I started having these bizarre dreams. In them, I'd be lying in bed in that same room, but I couldn't move, and the closet door would be slowly sliding open on its own. Something would crawl out of it, slowly, not walking, not standing, crawling, just a pale shape dragging itself along the floor. But I could never make out its face. I'd wake up soaked in sweat, heart pounding, unable to shake the feeling that something had been in the room with me. One night, I brought it up casually to Bev while making tea. I said something like, "Hey, do you know if anything ever happened in that back room?" She didn't look up from the dishes, just said, "Why would you ask that?" I laughed it off. "I don't know, just been having weird dreams. Closet keeps opening on its own." She froze. I remember the way her hand lingered in the sink like she forgot she was doing dishes. Then she said, "That closet's been sealed before." I thought I misheard her. "Sealed?" I asked. She nodded slowly, like she was saying more than she wanted to. "Years ago, before you, before I moved in even, something happened in that room. I was told not to tamper with it, but then one of the handymen knocked it off the track during a repair." I asked what happened, but she just muttered something about spiritual boundaries and left the room. I didn't sleep much that night. And the dreams, they got worse. One time I woke up, real, not dreaming, and I swear I saw the closet door still moving, like it had just finished sliding open. And for a second, I could have sworn I saw fingers pulling back into the darkness. That was the first night I locked the closet. I used a luggage strap and looped it around the handles, tying it tight. I even stacked a chair in front of it. It made me feel better for one night. Until I woke up the next morning and the strap was on the floor. Not cut, not torn, unbuckled, perfectly unbuckled. Like someone or something had carefully removed it. That's when I started keeping the lights on all night. I bought one of those little plug-in night lights for the corner and slept with my phone flashlight pointed at the closet. But it didn't help. At 3:12 a.m., I woke up to this noise I can still hear in my head. It was like a deep, slow inhale, but not from a person. It sounded bigger, like it came from inside the walls or behind them. It was followed by 3 distinct knocks from inside the closet. I sat up in bed, barely breathing. The closet door didn't move, but the shoebox on the top shelf, it fell. Just straight up fell off. No tremor, no shaking. It hit the floor with this dull thud, and the closet door creaked open a few inches. I couldn't see anything inside. Just pure blackness. But I knew something was in there. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The shoebox had opened. There were photographs inside, all old, faded, and every single one was of the same closet. Different times, different furniture, but always the same door, always slightly open. In some of them, you could just barely make out a figure inside, never fully visible, just shapes. Blurs. Once, a hand. Another, a face half hidden by shadow. All of them dated, some from the 80s. One from 1971. I showed them to Bev the next morning. She got quiet. Then she told me the truth. The previous tenant, before her, was her younger sister. And in 1993, that sister disappeared. No signs of a break-in, nothing stolen, but she was last seen in that room. The police said she must have run off, but Bev didn't believe it. A few months later, Bev tried sealing the closet. With tape, with screws, with nails. But every time something would undo it. Nothing would stay closed. I asked her why she never moved, why she never boarded it up or tore it out. She said, "You don't trap things like that. You make peace with them." I moved out that same week, didn't care about the lease, didn't pack properly. I left half my stuff behind and drove all night to my friend's place 2 states away. A month later, Bev called. She said the new tenant asked her the same question I had. Why does the closet door keep opening? She didn't warn them, said it wouldn't matter. They opened it. She hasn't heard from them since. I still don't know what's in that closet. I don't want to know. But if you ever find yourself alone in an old house and there's a closet that never quite stays shut, don't open it. Especially not after midnight, because sometimes what's behind the door isn't waiting to be found. It's waiting to find you.